What can someone today listening do to be ahead of 99% of people?
I think the main thing that people can do if they want to be ahead, depending on what ahead means to them, is I think that they can develop their discipline within themselves. I think that one thing that I've become really obsessed with over the past couple of years is thinking about the idea of discipline, because I think discipline has a very bad connotation. Like if somebody does something wrong, then they're disciplined, or a dog's supposed to be doing something wrong, you discipline a child, discipline. But I think that the connotation that we have with discipline is actually incorrect. I think discipline, if used correctly, is possibly the greatest form of self-love, because you don't have to have any discipline to do something that's not good for you. So if you want to, sleep in every single day of your life, you don't have to have discipline for that. If you don't want to go to the gym, you don't have to have discipline for that. If you want to just eat the crappiest food that's out there, you don't need discipline for it. But if you want to wake up earlier, you want to, make sales calls, grow a business, if you want to get your body in the healthiest shape you possibly can, you need discipline for it. And discipline is always needed for something that is good for you. And so the thing that I think people need to do is they need to develop a different relationship with discipline so that they don't think I'm doing this because I hate myself or because something's wrong or because whatever it might be. It's I'm going to become a more disciplined person because I love myself so much. And for me, I wasn't a disciplined person at all before I developed, got into self-development. I was, number one, I was a surfer. I was a stoner. I did a bunch of drugs, did a bunch of partying. I slept in, made excuses, never made any money, never really had a whole lot of happiness. And then when I was 19 years old, I got into a sales company and I learned, okay, if I'm going to sit down and make phone calls, hundreds of phone calls to people who have no clue that I'm about to call them every single day, I need to be disciplined. And it was this thing of, okay, I know what my life could be if I take this action, and my life will be better if I take this action. I don't want to take this action, but I know that my life will be better if I take this action. So I'm going to take this action because I know future me will thank me for it. And what's really cool about discipline, there's a whole lot of science and neuroscience has been found. There's a part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which is basically where they're thinking that discipline and willpower come from. And so for people who are athletes, like professional athletes, they have a larger than average anterior mid-cingulate cortex than the average person. Not because they were born that way, but because of the fact that they grew it. It's like a muscle inside of, you want to work your biceps. If you just do a whole bunch of curls, your biceps are going to get bigger. It works the exact same thing with this part of your brain. So they have found that people who have very little discipline, very little willpower, people who are, extremely obese, they found to have a small mid-anterior cingulate cortex. But if they start working out and doing things that they don't want to do, but things that are good for them, that part of their brain actually grows. And so I think if people need to figure out how do I get ahead of other people, the thing that I think is, well, what is everybody else doing? And do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. Most people are hanging out on their phone. They're not doing a whole lot. And so I'm looking at that and going, well, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to do the things I don't want to do that I know that are good for me. I'm going to develop a different relationship with discipline. I'm going to be more consistent in everything that I do. And I think if people just do that for a long enough period of time, then their entire life is going to change.
Yeah, I can agree more. And I think what you're getting at is that discipline is the ability to choose discomfort.
Yes.
When your mind and brain want to do the easy thing.
We always want comfort.
We always want comfort. And I think that's partly the challenge where I think anyone who's listening right now will go, Rob, you're right. I know I need to wake up early. Mm-hmm. I know my phone distracts me. I know I want to work out. I know I want to build my business. I know I want to get better at sales. I know that, but I can't do it. Mm-hmm. And I try and maybe I do it for 3 days and then I fall off again. And I get this a lot. I travel a ton. I work crazy. Even last night I was messaging a friend and I'm literally flying to next week. I'm flying to Australia for 1 day. I'll be there for 12 hours and I'm coming back because I have something that I'm excited for work. And my friend and then I'll go back to work the next day after I land here and I'll work out and do everything all over again. And my friend was like to me, how do you do it? Like, how do you not get burnt out? And there were two answers. One was, everything is dedicated to the craft. Mm-hmm. So my whole life is structured in a way that I can do that. Yeah. So that means I sleep on time when I'm fully in control. I work out 5 days a week. I eat right. There's discipline that then allows me to do things that sound crazy, but then still recover because the supplements and everything are in place. Mm-hmm. And yes, everything is dedicated to the craft, which I love. Mm-hmm. The second part of it is that I'm good at also saying no to things that maybe I even want to do, that might be fun and laid back, but because the craft is the priority right now, I'm willing to forego.
Yeah.
So when you hear that, someone would say, well, Jay, that sounds boring because you're just living your life in that way. And I'm like, well, no, this is meaningful to me. But I guess the biggest challenge people have is, Jay, I know that I want to do that, but I don't know how to change my habits. I don't know how to build that. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, one of the things that I say is I have this phrase where I say shrink the start of something. So there's a couple aspects of it. The first thing is if you want to do something, it's easier to make the start of it as short as you possibly can. So like, let's say that I don't want to go running in the morning, but I know that I do want to go running in the morning for the betterment of me. Well, then how can I make it knowing that humans resist change as much as possible? And if it takes more than 15 seconds to do it, a lot of times we won't do it. So if it's like, I'm going to shrink the start of making myself go for a run in the morning. So I know every morning I wake up and I brush my teeth, go to the bathroom, I get water, I brush my teeth. That's what I do. Then I'm going to take my running clothes and I'm going to put them right next to the sink. And if I really want to shrink the start, go to bed with them on. If you're waking up early and you want a cup of coffee, the thing that you want to do is make sure that you get a coffee maker that has an automatic timer on it so that by the time I'm done walking out of my room and into the kitchen, my coffee's already made. There's already water next to it. I just got to throw my shoes on. So it's like, how do I shrink the start? Because we're going to resist doing something. How do I shrink the start is the first part of it to make it easier for me to do. The other side of it as well, and I've known you now for 9 years. You work like this. You work, dude. But you are so passionate about what you do, and that's the other thing I think people need to realize is it's really hard to force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. And if you think about this, I know that when I worked jobs that I hated, that didn't feel like it was my life purpose, it used way more energy, physical, but especially mental energy, to get myself up in the morning, to have to take a shower, to wear a suit, to drive 30 minutes stuck in traffic with a bunch of other people who are pissed off honking at each other, to go to a job for 8 or 9 hours that I didn't enjoy at all, to go back home and sit in that traffic again, and then go and eat some food and watch some TV and know that I'm going to have to do that every day. Workday for the next 40 years of my life. Do you know how much physical but mental energy that takes from a human? Like, it's so much. And so if you think about it, does it require energy for you to hop on the plane and go there for 12 hours and then come back here and work and then do your workout? Does it require energy? Yes. But I would venture to say because it's something that you love, it actually gives you energy more than it strips energy from you. When you're doing something that you don't enjoy, it steals energy from you. I saw a quote one time and it was I'm changing it around a little bit, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was something like, if you do something that is out of alignment with what your purpose is in this world, you will have to come up with the energy for that. If you do something that is in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing in this world, the universe will provide the energy for you. And like for me, I know 100% when we get done with this podcast episode, I will have more energy than I did when I first walked in this room. Why? Because this is the thing that I think that I was made to do. And I am so passionate about that. And it gives me energy. And I will have more energy throughout the entire day because I'm doing something that I actually love. And so I think that for people, if you're trying to be disciplined, number one, you can shrink the start. But number two, it's like, if you're trying to force yourself to do something that you don't love and something that doesn't, or just something that doesn't feel in alignment with who you are, it's going to require way more force than anything else.
I think it's also important with what you're saying as well, is that I was working this hard on what I love around the time we met. So Rob and I have known each other now for 9 years, 9 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. And when I met Rob, I would say I was starting to work hard. I wasn't as busy as I am now and productive as I am now. I was starting to work what I thought was hard then, but I wasn't disciplined in my personal habits. Beyond meditation, I wasn't disciplined in my physical wellness. So my diet, my workout, like that wasn't locked in. Sleep and meditation have always been two things that I've prioritized. And I realized at one point in my life that I either had to slow down or I had to invest in my health. So I had two choices. I either had to slow down because when you're not eating right, and you're not sleeping right, and you're not working out, and you're not meditating, you're not doing all the things, then I can't keep up at this pace. Right. It's actually impossible. I'll kill myself because you're pushing yourself so hard. But when you're doing all those things, you realize you can do more. So I had that choice. And I don't think there's a right answer to that choice. I think investing in your health is always a good idea and you can still slow down. For me, it was, okay, well, let's see how high I can perform. And putting all that time and energy to do that has helped me. Now, it does get to a certain point in the year where I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm, I think I pushed it this year. Like, I'm good. And I take a month off for Christmas now. So I'm very, look forward to that. But the reason I got into that was to ask you this question of, when people don't have what they love, and we've been there before, you just talked about yours, I've been there before. when you're actually doing a job that you don't love, you don't enjoy what you do, is there any way to bring energy and get energy from it?
It can be. I mean, if it depends on if somebody's like, oh, I absolutely hate my job. I hate my boss. I hate everything about my life. I think that's where you just need to go. All right. If you're 35 years old, let's say you're 40 years old, you're 40 years old and you're like, I've built this life that I'm just not necessarily in love with. Well, if you are lucky enough to live to 80 years old, then life 1 was the first 40 years of your life. Life 2 starts this moment. Like you have another 40 years. Is it going to be easy to make massive changes in your life? No. Are you going to have to say no to things that you've been saying yes to for a really long time? Yeah, you're going to have to say no to things. And when you're saying no to something, you're saying yes to other things. And so if you're in that situation, it's kind of like just a whole uprooting of things. And for me, I'd rather invest a year, 2 years, 3 years uprooting things for another 37 years of happiness and joy and fulfillment. But on the other side of that, I think that people have a kind of like a misconception of what a purpose or passion is sometimes. I think it's really important for people to take a step back and be like, well, if there was a reason why I was alive and I was supposed to discover what that reason is, what is it? And I always tell people, it's okay if you are listening to this podcast right now and you don't know what your purpose is, but it's not okay if you're in that situation to wake up every single day and not try to find what your purpose is. And your purpose does not have to be your paycheck. I'm lucky enough where it is. You're lucky enough where it is. There's some people that are lucky enough where it is. But a purpose could be something that you do outside of your paycheck and you use your paycheck to invest into that purpose, whether it's a hobby or whatever it might be. And so I think people get that wrong. And then another aspect of purpose that I think people get wrong is that I think most people are trying to find something that they're going to do until the day they die. And that's a lot of pressure. Hopefully I live to like 100 years old. I mean, I got another 61 years. I'd find something I'm going to do for 61 years and love every single day. That's a lot of pressure. So what I think people need to actually start looking at themselves as, I always use the example of like a hummingbird, right? If you have ever watched a hummingbird, they go from one flower, they're there for a few seconds, they get to the next flower, they're at the next flower. I think people should kind of act like a hummingbird where they say, okay, what am I really interested in the next 2 or 3 years? And that's what my focus is going to be. What do I love to do that I haven't done in a while? What interests me that I haven't spent a lot of time, or what's something I really want to learn about more? And then I'll just follow that thing. And what's really interesting is when people kind of follow in the hummingbird thing for 10 years and they go from one thing to another thing and they have, let's say it's 10 or 15 years, they have 3 or 5 things they've tried. The universe has this beautiful way of working where those things eventually usually line up to find what their purpose is. And they needed every single step to get there. So like for me, if I think about when I was 19 years old and I got into sales, because I wanted to be a psychologist, and I got into sales and went, oh my God, this is psychology in front of me. And I'm learning it. And then I started managing people. I was like, this is even more psychology. I need to fix myself so I can help these people out. So it was all of this psychology. And I sales was just the kind of the vehicle to make me learn psychology. Then I started managing people and realizing like how much people hold themselves back. They're like, I want to make phone calls, but I'm not doing it. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting to be at this moment and to see this. Why are you not doing something you want to do? Right. So I started becoming obsessed with that. Like you have so much potential in you. Why are you not doing it? Then I got out of that and I went into corporate sales for a little while. I stopped managing people. I got into corporate sales. And then in 2017, I was like, I'm going to quit my job because I don't love what I do. I'm going to travel Europe for 6 months. And I traveled Europe. Actually, it was 3 months. I went for 3 months in 2012 is when I went and backpacked Europe by myself. 2017, I backpacked with my wife for 6 months. And then I realized, oh my God, like I really love traveling. And I have to figure out some sort of way to make money online so I'm not stuck to a place so I can do this. And I can go and I can do whatever I want. Then I was like, I'm going to move to a place because I thought I wanted to be a musician. So I had all the recording equipment. I had the microphone, all the stuff. I was like, I'm going to move to a city where it's a music city and I could try to become a musician. So I moved to Austin and I had all the record equipment. I was there for a couple of years, tried out music, realized I'm not that good. Like I'm just very passionate. I love it. I'm okay, but I'm not like, oh my God, this guy's going to be a star. And then I was like, one day I was sitting in a place called Jason's Deli, this chain. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, my now wife. And I was like, I had this feeling of like, I feel like I have so much knowledge from books that I've read and from working on myself for so long. And this was 2015. So we're talking 9 years I've been working on myself, right? I was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. And I had this idea and I was like, that feels right. Like that feels like the right thing to do. Now, mind you, I had all of the recording equipment to be able to do so. I had been doing songwriting for a really long time. So I had become obsessed with taking words and making them taking a line and making it as valuable as I possibly could in that one sentence that I could come up with. So I had music. I had all the stuff to be able to set up and record a podcast. I had the songwriting to be able to write scripts. I had the sales and the psychology to be able to understand the psychology, the managing of people of why they don't do what they want to do. And I was like, everything lined up, but it only lined up because I started doing and actually following what felt right. And so I think if people are trying to find their purpose, don't put so much pressure that number one, you have to make a paycheck out of it. And number two, that's the thing that you have to do until the day you die. Just do it for a little while. And if you fast forward 10, 15, 20 years, I promise you there's a pretty good chance all of those things are going to line up and you're going to go, this is the reason why I'm alive.
Yeah, that's exactly why Steve Jobs says you can't connect the dots looking forward. You only can looking backwards.
100%.
And I love that example because I often talk about it as collecting and connecting. That purpose is a lot more about collecting and connecting than it is finding and discovering. And so what you did is you collected a lot of skills by things you were just interested in. Yeah. And one day it all connected. And by the way, my life is exactly the same, even though totally different to yours. Is I lived as a monk, so I understood Eastern wisdom, which at that time was just my fascination. I then worked as a management consultant where I understood sales, branding, communication, all of these other skills that came business skills basically. And then I started working in media where I understood communication. Now I had what I wanted to share. I'd understood communication through media and I knew how to build a business. And then it just connected, but it wasn't strategic. It wasn't like I went, I'm going to learn this, this, and this, and this, and this.
Right.
It was, oh no, I can now just connect all these ideas. And as I was listening to you speak, I was thinking about how there's literally only 4 key drivers or motivators that humans have. Setting goals and beating goals. There are some people who just love targets and goals. When you talk to them, everything is a target and goal. These people are great at sales. They're great CEOs. They're great at building businesses and sticking to numbers. Some people just naturally have that skill set. Then there are people who are great at influencing people, negotiation, persuasion, bringing energy into a room, motivation, people who know how to influence people. Then you've got people who are great at precision. They know how to make sure that the camera captures the perfect angle. They know how to make sure that the iPhone actually works. They know how to make sure that the bridge or the elevator they're engineering is actually going to work and get to that floor. And then finally, you've got people who are just good at caring for people. They're just good at emotional intelligence. They're good at understanding. You can bring that into your workplace. We think that, as exactly what you said, we think that your passion or your paycheck or your profession has to be a job you love. Now, you've done a podcast for 10 years now. I've done a podcast for nearly 7 years now. But if someone told me that that was my purpose and that was your purpose, I think we'd say, no, it's just the current iteration of it. Your purpose is far greater than that, and so is mine. And so I think when we limit our profession and go, oh, I don't like my job, what you're missing out on is, but where could you influence people, meet goals, be precise, or care for people in wherever you are and practice that skill set so that one day you're undeniable. And so my question to you is, why do we talk ourselves out of the things that we're passionate about? Like, why do we talk ourselves out of, like, when you had that idea of, I want to be a writer and a musician, you didn't talk yourself out of it. You followed it and then took it as far as it could and it left. Same with me. I didn't talk myself out of being a monk. I took the risk. And then when I came back, I was figuring it out. Why do most of us have that idea? We hear the voice in our head of, you should try sales. You should become a musician. You should launch a YouTube channel. And then we go, oh, no, I can't do it. Why do we do that?
Well, I think as humans, we're naturally lazy. Like we want to stay in our comfort zone. It's a protection mechanism. If you're not doing something that you want to do, there's a pretty good chance the reason why, at its simplest form, is there's a part of you inside of you that's trying to protect you from something. And so you might have a fear of, I want to start a podcast too. Like these guys have their podcasts, and I'm going to put myself out there and I record the podcast, and then I'm like, I don't know. And I hold myself back from doing that thing. Anytime you're really not doing something that you want to do, there's usually some sort of fear that's behind it. And usually the fears that we have in our future comes from pain that we have in our past. And if you can understand that what my brain is doing is it is projecting itself into the future and thinking of all of the things that could go wrong as a protection mechanism from something that I'm triggered, that I haven't healed from my past. And so, like, for instance, let's go with the podcast example, right? I'm sitting there, I've recorded 3 podcast episodes, I want to hit publish, and I'm not doing it. If I'm sitting there and I notice myself, we all get there. Like there's no part of me that is mastered at all. I deal with the exact same things. It's just I've kind of, over 20 years of working myself, become more self-aware of when I'm in those moments. And I'm like, okay, I'm holding myself back from hitting publish. what's going on here? Like, what's behind this? And if I'm like, do I want to do it? Yes. Why am I not doing it? Am I afraid of something? You know what? I am afraid of something. What exactly am I afraid of? I'm afraid that if I put this out there, then people are going to judge me. Okay, that's the fear that lives in my future. What pain does this remind me of in my past? And usually be able to go, it reminds me of that one time when I was bullied in 7th grade. And it reminds me of the time that I was bullied in 9th grade. It reminds me of the time that I got a bad grade and my teacher called me stupid. And it's like, I believe that, first off, I believe that all of this is just a game, right? And so it's like, there's so much purpose and importance in what we do. And we talked about this last time I was here. It's so important what we do, but it is so unimportant what we do in the grand scheme of the universe and, billions of years that this has all been around. It's so important, but it's so unimportant. So you can get caught up in the drama, but you can also remove yourself from the drama. And you can look at it and say, okay, I'm in this situation. I want to push publish. I'm really afraid. What I believe is that when those moments pop up, all of those moments that pop up, our life is a perfectly crafted curriculum for our soul to learn what it's supposed to learn in the moment that it's here. And so if I'm going, okay, this is the thing that I want to do, I'm not doing it. It's the universe coming to me in this moment through this predicament to show me, Rob, this is the thing that you need to work on. You need to work on this pain that you have in the past. You can either heal that side of you, which I think is something that people should do. They should work on healing themselves. But at the same time, if we do take that action that we are afraid of, it starts to heal that past as well. Because we realize, we're telling our brain, this is not dangerous. And you won't change yourself overnight. But when you've posted 10,000 times on Instagram like I have, I'm like, I don't care if people judge me anymore because I've just seen so much of it. It's kind of like exposure therapy. You're just like, yeah, I'm publishing again. Yeah, I'm cold calling people and they're hanging up on me again. It's exposure therapy. And so I think if people can become more aware in those moments to be like, okay, I want to do something. I'm not doing it. There's something in my past that's not healed. I need to work on healing this. But another thing that I could also do is just push publish and just be okay with it. And so it's those little moments, I think, where the universe is showing us, this is what you need to work on. Please move forward. Just even a tiny step in the right direction to prove to your brain, the defense mechanism that's trying to protect you, you're safe, you're not going to die, everything's...
That worry that we have of what people think of us, or like you said, is a fear from deeper within that we had in our past where someone said something or someone felt something about us and it triggers that again. It's incredible how much power we give it. And what you just said about this evaluation of what we do is so important, but so insignificant. I love that because yesterday I was at an event and someone asked me this question and they said, Jay, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what would you like your legacy to be? And I said to them that there was a time in my life where I thought that was an important thing to reflect on. And over time, I've realized it is the thing I think about the least.
You don't care about that?
I don't care about it at all.
Not at all.
And I said to them, it's because even the biggest musicians in the world, if they're lucky, they'll be relevant for 50 to 100 years after they pass away. There are only a few things that have been around for 1,000 years. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, dinosaurs. They somehow made it in there. And it's like, that's it. That's it. And so each one of us is going to be completely forgotten. And I said, that is the most liberating thing in the world to me. And my answer to them was, I just feel really lucky that I got to be the modern messenger for a 5,000-year-old tradition that has been there before me, that will outlast me by thousands and thousands of years. And I was just so lucky that I got to be today's mailman for this subject matter, and how fortunate I am that I got to do that. But I have no interest because that is the legacy. That Eastern wisdom that I get to share is going to last for thousands and thousands more years, as will Jesus and Buddha and dinosaurs and everything else. And it's so freeing to know that, to kind of go, like, I don't have to take it that seriously. Like me uploading a video. It's like one day YouTube will not exist.
It'll be gone one day.
And no one will care. And giving yourself that freedom. And then when you're making the thing, it's like, this is the most important thing. When you're sharing the thing, you're like, all right, let's just let it out into the world. How do you then deal with that criticism that comes in your own mind of, I put it out there, it's not getting views, it's not getting comments, people don't like my art, people don't think, and you just get lost now in this like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it again. Because I had a friend who, he said to me, I'm going to post 30 videos in 30 days. I'm going to commit, Jay. I'm going to do it. Then he starts posting and he's not happy with the amount of likes. He's not happy with the amount of comments. he starts doubting it, and then eventually he stops and then doesn't do any more. So there's no more discipline left, no more consistency. And I said to him, realistically, you need to post every day for 2 years to even get close to seeing what could happen.
Yeah.
But 30 days isn't really going to cut it. And so if you've done 30 days and then you're not for 6 months and then you are, it's not going to make sense. But he talked himself out of it even after getting started.
Right.
And I'm sure you see this all the time.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think the real question behind those types of things is, why are you doing it? Like, so, you know, the thing that I love about what you said is like, you're just excited to be the person that's giving this message right now, which means that you're removing yourself from all of it. It's unimportant. Like on my drive up here, the only thing I kept saying to myself, I just did a prayer and I was like, God, please remove me from all of it. I don't want it. I don't want the fame of it. I don't care about any of it. I just want that whoever hears this message to be the message that they needed to hear, whether it's one person, whether it's millions of people. But I don't want to be, you know, on some sort of pedestal for being the person that gives it. And there's no real, with Buddha, with Krishna, and with Jesus, there's no real original thought anyways. I'm probably saying something that someone else has said at some point in time in the world, right? And so when I can remove myself from needing to see or be important, then it makes it a lot easier for me. So if somebody's point of, if we're using posting as the example, is to become famous or to make money or to get likes, then I think you're going at it from the wrong reasons anyways. The real thing is like, why am I doing this in the first place? When I first talked with you in 2017, when we were talking about, hey, you should start a podcast, I could tell from that moment that you wanted to basically take all of this Eastern wisdom that had changed your entire life and just teach it to other people because you felt obligated to do so. When I was sitting in Jason's Deli and I was sitting there and watching people yell at their kids and all of this stuff, and it was just like this moment of just like, you know, if you watch like someone in a movie when like the world starts to get all weird, it got to like a fever pitch and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I feel like there's something inside of me that's helped me overcome my trauma from my past of my father being an alcoholic and passing away when I was 15. And I feel like I'm in a really good place from all of that. I feel obligated to teach it. It was never from the standpoint of I'm doing this because I want to make money or I'm doing this because I want to be famous, because nobody made money or was famous from podcasts in 2015 anyways. And so I think what people should really ask themselves is like, what is the real reason why I'm doing this in the first place? And, you know, if someone has a really strong why, how to do it will eventually reveal itself. And so if someone's like, I want to make a bunch of money, cool, that's great. You can definitely make a bunch of money. But I also think that money is a byproduct of the value that you give the world. And so in my mind, I'm like, if I want to make more, can I figure out a way to give more value to people anyways? And so I think it's more of like, can you go and build a business and make a bunch of money and be famous and all that stuff? Sure. Why do you want to do it though? Like there's some actors that are really good actors because of the fact that they want to be rich and famous, and they usually burn out. And then there's some people that want to be actors because they love the craft of being an actor and becoming somebody else and having to change themselves. Those people never burn out because they have some sort of really strong why that's behind what it is that they're doing.
So I think we both believe that we've been talking a lot about consciousness, intention, knowing why you're doing something, like caring about it, doing something you love. And we both know that's important. Mm-hmm. But I think we both agree that competence is equally important. The reason you didn't pursue a music career is because you didn't feel you had the competence to make it a career beyond it being meaningful and thoughtful. Yeah. And same with me. I love soccer. It's my first love, but I'm just not competent enough to be a professional soccer player. Yeah. I would not have made it into any of the leagues for that matter. Yeah. And so how does someone build a new skill or competence? If someone goes, okay, I want to be a podcaster and I need to learn podcasting. I want to become a musician. I need to learn songwriting. I want to be a filmmaker. I need to learn editing. How do you start building a new skill? What are the steps to building any skill? Well,
I think consistency is the biggest part of it. Like, first off, you have to start. Like most people, I remember watching a video years ago of Jared Leto being interviewed, and Jared Leto is one of the most famous actors and also a really famous musician. He's won the highest awards that you can win of both of those, right? And he said something that was really kind of like eye-opening for me. He said, when I was a child, he was homeschooled and he saw what people were doing. He said, when I was a child, I just realized that most people don't start. And as long as I start, I'll eventually be so much further ahead of anybody else. So I thought that was a really big piece of it. The piece that I'll add on is that if you just don't stop, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to win, whatever it might be. Now, can I go and just get a soccer ball and then become, Ronaldo? No, that's definitely not going to happen. I can understand that. I think most people are wise enough to know, hey, this probably isn't the route of me trying to become a professional at 39 years old, right? But the thing about it is, I'm of the belief that when I do something, I'm not going to stop doing it until I get to wherever I feel like I want to go. I started a business years ago with my best friend, and another one of our friends was there, and he's like, why are you starting a business with Rob? And he was asking us like,